Metallica with 72 seasons. You're listening to our Metallica special, The Bones of Lars Ulrich, on BBC Radio 6 Music. And here is part 2.
BBC Radio 6 Music.
You know, the world is a big and beautiful and exquisite place, isn't it? And now you're looking at a whole new generation of fans that have discovered the band through the portal of Stranger Things, you know, a brand new generation. I don't know, that must feel incredibly exciting.
It's very exciting. It's unexpected. So many people have asked me, did you know? No, we didn't know. We didn't know anything. You never know with these things. And we've kind of done a 180 in our band in the last, I don't know when, maybe couple 3-5 years ago. We would just say no to everything before the question was even asked. So a lot of sync requests and so on, it was just no, we're not interested in sharing these songs with that. We were very cynical of that whole world. But a few years ago, it was like, why are we like that, and why don't we share the music, and why don't we support other creative endeavors and outlets, and you know, younger filmmakers, and you know, independent filmmakers, and you know, TV shows, and now we say yes to pretty much everything. And obviously I knew about Stranger Things from my kids and was aware of the phenomenon, but we didn't know that it was going to be a phenomenon at this level. Nobody would know that. We certainly had heard and was aware of the Kate Bush element. The fact that a 37-year-old heavy metal song that's close to 9 minutes or whatever could connect with a younger generation at the level that it did last summer is it's beyond explaining. And I think, if anything, it just reiterates and confirms that you can never really know with the zeitgeist and what's going on sort of in the cultural landscape. So as much as you sit and think that you know the answers or can predict where things are going, you don't. And I like that. I like the fact that, you know, the algorithms may still get it wrong occasionally, or common sense, or whatever you say. And still, we've been out playing shows in Europe now since April. And there are as many younger fans there as there has ever been, if not more. Maybe they don't know that we're in our late 50s. Maybe they don't know that Kirk Hammett has actually already passed the 60 line. Maybe that it was taken out of the bio on the website. I don't know. But it's pretty crazy cool that so many young people continue to show up for a band of our somewhat advanced age, even though we still feel young and spunky and still trying to figure it out. And like I'd say, may threaten to go professional any day now. It still is kind of crazy that so many young people show up. So we're very grateful for that.
Speaking of Metallica in extraordinary context, I understand you've also got initiatives in America for marching bands who play Metallica's music, right?
There's a whole campaign. Yes, it's you know, we have a great team around us who try to come up with unprecedented ways of connecting the music to, you know, an unsuspecting audience out there, and that's one of them. They've been working on that for a while. One of the guys on our team named Mark. And it's exciting. You know, America, the whole marching band phenomena is closely associated with sports events. And Metallica music ends up being the, I guess for lack of a better word, the battle cry, or you know, has a pretty big presence at sports events in America especially. And we're not limited to America, but the marching band thing and all that is sort of an American phenomenon within that context that we're talking about here. So that's an exciting outlet also.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that I just wanted to circle back to, which I feel is really, really important with Metallica, I feel that you were so far ahead of your time addressing mental health issues, especially with the documentary, Some Kind of Monster. And I wondered how you feel about that 20 years later, because I think where we're sitting right now in 2023, it's very much part of a common narrative, isn't it now, among every human being on the planet, and especially in the aftermath of the pandemic. But I wonder how you reflect on that time and what it is that you were actually doing with the band, because I feel that you were possibly the very first artist at your level to actually break that ground publicly.
Well, thank you for saying that. Transparency has always been a really big thing for us, and so we decided very early on that the bands that we appreciated and the bands that we were inspired by, most of them were very transparent, and we wanted to have the connecting door to the fans, be as open wide as possible. I think if you decide to open the door, the only thing you can do is open the door completely. You can't cherry pick when to let people in. It's got to be the good and the bad, and it's got to be all of it. And there's got to be continuous access. So we feel that we've always tried to honor that. And that movie that you're talking about from 20 years ago was obviously, I think, for a lot of people that never had that kind of open door access to a rock and roll band, and you know, seeing all of it, including the warts and all the crazy that was going on behind the doors as we were trying to figure out who we were and trying to figure our way through understanding the growth that had occurred, but who we were as people and how we related to each other, and the state of our minds and our own mental health and all of it. And at that time, obviously, there were all these camera crews there, and we just decided to go for it because we weren't scared, and we trusted the film people, and we felt that kind of transparency was part of who we were. The younger generation now, mental health, and I think circling back to where we were earlier, talking about how information and certainly social media impacts the way we communicate now. Everyone is way more transparent about how they're feeling and how they're doing and what's going on, good and bad, in the way the world communicates with, you know, itself and how everybody communicates with each other nowadays. So I'm not going to sit here and pat ourselves on the back. I mean, it certainly wasn't a conscious thing. You know, let's try to get this type of thing out there so we can be considered pioneers in any of that. We, like most of the time, don't really know what we're doing. We're kind of punting it. The initial reaction from the music world was, we're seeing way too much. This is way too intimate. But there were a lot of people in the film world that really related to the dramatic arc in the movie that came kind of naturally out of what was happening in our lives. And then in the medical world, we started getting all these requests from doctors and mental health professionals and so on who wanted to show the film at, you know, conferences and seminars and all this, which was obviously completely unexpected. So it felt like it connected with many different people, but maybe least with people in the music world, because they were almost shocked or borderline offended by the fact that it was so transparent. We shouldn't see that kind of stuff from a rock and roll band, you know, trying to figure it out or whatever. But I am proud of the fact that we had enough faith in ourselves and the filmmakers to go forward with it, and I'm proud that it's part of who we are. It's a very long time ago, and so when people bring up the film now, I try to go to great lengths to sort of explain that what you're seeing in that movie is over 20 years ago, and the internal dynamic and temperature in the band is very different now. But I am proud of the fact that with this new record, 72 Seasons talks so much about our journey and who we are, and everything about this record is, we're not trying to play down or hide our age or how we're aging. And I think that it's a significant part of who we are. And so talking about, the first 18 years of your life, which is the 72 seasons, and how that in some way shapes who you become later. I think they're all really, really interesting topics. If nothing else, just a conversation starter for everybody, to encourage everybody to be open with each other and to be honest with each other and with themselves about the state of their particular world and their day-to-day issues or whatever. So I am grateful for the fact that people are relating to that side of this record and where we're at right now. And it's certainly a conversation that, if nothing else, is long overdue.
Lars, thank you so much for being with us. It's such a joy to spend some time with you.
Right back at you. Thank you.
It's MetallicA on BBC Radio 6 Music. Too Far Gone is the name of the tune, lifted from the most recent album, 72 Seasons. Could potentially be the next single, so we hear. A little bird tells us. So I want to shout out all the Metallica